Good afternoon. Here we are again, Friday at 5. Man, what a beautiful day. Got some great guests. Ray Thomas, how the heck are you, buddy?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Yeah, we got to get you some more coffee, man. You're just too chilled out. You don't watch news or anything?
Well, you know what it is when you wake up at 3:30 in the morning and you do a morning show. By 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you need that other shot. You know, that's what it is. I'm going to have to talk to Nina about that.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll help me out.
Speaking of Nina, we have a lovely guest fill-in for Marla Brodsky, who's I talked to her. She's observing from a distance the LA happenings right now.
Okay.
Nina Pucillo, the great fitness coach and nutrition coach. How you doing today, Nina?
I am doing wonderful. Just wonderful.
You look great, as always.
Thank you.
And to the center, a great, great friend of mine, Mr. Glenn Wiggle, part of the Financial Guys Network in Buffalo, New York. Glenn, how many years you been doing your radio show up there?
27.
27
Yeah,
years.
started in 99.
Wow.
Yep.
So this dude, don't let him fool you. Glenn is the millionaire next door. He's a self-made guy. Yes. Oh, come on. You can be modest, buddy. Okay. But you are a self-made guy. And why I have you on the show is I want to talk about finance in the markets. A lot of people want to hear about money. They know, or you don't know, folks, I do manage money for a living. I'm a financial planner and not just an artist, musician, speaker. And so Glenn has a very unique registered investment advisory firm. You know how you see those commercials and they have minimums or they don't want to talk to you? Well, that doesn't happen with the Financial Guys and Independent Solutions.
Wow.
So Glenn, let's get the obvious out of the way. This has been kind of a weird market. I mean, I looked at, people think that we're flying by, but the actual statistics are not that robust. You know, right now the S&P is about 2.5% for the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But last year it was up over 25%, and the year before that was also up 26%. And then NASDAQ is actually doing the best. No, I shouldn't say that. They're up 1.5%, and they were up 29% last year and 55% the year before. That's when NVIDIA and those companies just
really took off.
Mm-hmm. You know what's so funny? Don't you and I always talk about don't panic, don't be an emotional buyer.
Right.
All of these positions, when that blip happened in, was it 2 months ago?
March. Yeah, March.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the S&P had spiked down 15%, and people were losing themselves, wanting to press the panic button. The Dow was down 11%, and NASDAQ was down 21%. And of course, it snapped back. Tell people that's not normal, right? I mean,
well, lately it's been normal. I mean, you got COVID was a substantial down draw, about 30% in just a matter of a couple of weeks.
Right.
You know, so you've had some pretty major corrections, and it's not uncommon for that to happen. You know, one of the things we said, if we do an investment committee monthly call.
Okay.
And one of the things we said during that call that month on March was ignore the noise and just focus on the long-term opportunities with the technology that's coming forth, right? We believe as an investment firm that the technology with AI and robotics will be as transformative, if not more so, than the internet was in the 90s. It'll be that substantial, and I'm excited about it. So all this tariff stuff, a lot of this stuff is noise. And when you look at the markets, what we said several months ago was, you know, don't worry so much when we're not in a situation where we have a fundamental or structural problem, right? During 2008, because I think that's what everybody worries about the most, right? Oh my God, what if I lose 55%? That was a structural issue that was built up over a decade and a half, really, 16 years from 1992, 93, when they changed some of the rules to allow some of the securitization of mortgages and things like that. But that's not a quick fix. You know, you can't just unwind that. Whereas tariffs, you can. Right, very quickly you can get deals done. You can back off those tariffs. It's a policy error in a way that's causing, or a policy decision that's causing that volatility that has a resolution to it very quickly. COVID was the same thing. Very bad decision during COVID to shut down the economy. However, it was a great buying opportunity because that was something that, again, wasn't long-term fundamental or structural, could very quickly be undone by better policy. And we got that better policy. And as a result, the markets came rocketing right back. And so same situation here. You know, we look at it from a money management side as a buying opportunity, right? So we'll do some swaps in our portfolios and things to put ourselves in a better position. And, you know, the returns that we have with our portfolios have really done well.
We're going to talk about
that.
But so here, for those listening, and I always learn when I speak to you, John Third, the whole committee. So actually, the new norm is quick snapbacks, because prior to 5 years ago, when we had some kind of correction, it could take a couple of years to come back. I guess because isn't it true the trades are executed like in a split second? It's no longer some chain smoking guy running from, oh, let me get that ticket in there. It happens so fast before you know it. What happened? It was down 10. Oh, but now we're up 15. What?
Yeah, you got a lot of program trading going on. So big giant computers, and now they're a lot smaller, but there are a lot of program trading going on. Again, the snapbacks are in these couple of instances happened because it was an easy thing to undo. The policy was easily reversed or resolved. But
doesn't that mean that they like panicked too soon? I mean, that it was a knee-jerk reaction.
In a way, I think that the headline risk is what you really have with a lot of these situations where it's. I mean, what did they say? Right? We heard that inflation was going to be higher.
Right.
Tariffs were going to cause inflation.
Yes.
Tariffs going to cause a recession.
The boogeyman was coming. Don't forget that.
Right.
The boogeyman was coming.
And so look at the latest inflation number. It was lower. In fact, the trend has been. The trend before Trump took office was, a 3% annualized, 4%, 5%. And now Trump takes over, it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, right? Those are the numbers that have come in the last 5 or 4 months or so. And so the trend for inflation has been the opposite of what the analysts and the pundits and the talking heads on TV have told you. We're not anywhere near recession. In fact, the jobs numbers that just came out last week, those were better than expected as well. And so again, it's the media hates Trump. They hate him. And so everything is going to be negative, right? Negative, as much as they possibly can.
Well, here's the other thing. When they do a lot of these statistics, they base it on zero growth, like ridiculous, like, 0 to 1% GDP, where we have a chance of 3, 4, 5, maybe 6% GDP with some of the things that they're doing. Isn't that what they always overlook? And that's why they predict a recession. Well, we're not going to grow that fast, so we got to have a recession.
Well, they go back to the Smoot-Hawley tariffs of 1930 and the detrimental impact it had worldwide. I'm serious.
You remember 1930, Nina?
Well,
yeah, I don't.
But the thing is, there's a lot of other things going on. I don't disagree that tariffs are a net negative long term if it's going to be what you're going to use to have in place long term, right?
Okay.
But I think in this case, it was clearly being used as a negotiating tactic to get to a lower number, which he's been able to do in a lot of cases, right? The Smoot-Hawley tariffs, when they were put in place in 1930, the market already crashed, right? So that we were already, we already had a really bad scenario going on, and that just made a really bad scenario really, really bad.
But they lumped it together as if it caused the crash, right? They statistically,
and the headlines are designed to create fear among the public.
Wait a minute. You mean the media would mislead us? Tell me that's not true.
The media would mislead
Ray, have you heard this?
Oh, that never happens.
Well, I'm shocked at what we're finding out as I should have known a lot of this stuff, but what I'm most amazed about on the healthcare side is some of the stuff coming out from RFK Jr.
Oh, it's stuff that has been known for a very, very long time.
Public. Like
but
for
not
someone
public.
like me who's like in finance, not health,
We've been miseducating the public when it comes to health.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And
I feel misled.
Denny will tell you how that infuriates me to the core of my being.
Well, because look, why cure something if you can keep, someone paying? If you cure it, you're out of business. You're not making money anymore.
Correct.
I hate to sound negative because I don't want to be negative, but are you telling me we still don't have a cure for cancer? I mean, this is not something that just popped up. They have a cure for everything else. Why? Because I see those stupid commercials. Do I really need to see that in between the game?
Do you know how much money? A
lot of money
that they'd lose if they had a cure.
If they cured?
And the common cold, for that matter.
Yeah. Well, I don't care common cold. That's not.
Do you know how much money's involved with that too?
So much.
Come on now.
Oh, to help cure it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And also the medicines, over-the-counter medicines you purchase.
Over-the-counter medication.
Yeah.
$16 so you can stop sniffling for 4 hours.
Well, there's no doubt we pay more for drugs than any other country in the world.
That's absolutely
and that's
correct.
Because the lobbyists are. I don't want to get political. That's Glenn's thing. He has the Hatfields and McCoys going at it in Buffalo, and people call in. It's so Glenn is a good friend. I look up to him. We've worked together. We've done a lot of great things together. One thing I can tell you about Independent Solutions, we're going to go over the performances that you had. You're not just a number. There are firms that if you literally don't even have $500,000 to $1 million, They don't want your business. Even worse, if you're a customer, you may not get a live agent on the phone.
Wow.
You call in for an automated system. Isn't that the truth, Glenn?
Yeah, I'll never forget. When I was at Payne Weber, I started, late 90s, mid 90s, and they went to an automated front desk receptionist. I never understood that. Like, you're in one of the nicest
Because
buildings.
they don't have enough money. They don't
They
want
had
to pay
plenty
for
of
it.
money. They had like one of the wealthiest art collections in the world. And of course, now they're owned by UBS. Payne Weber's
No,
long
if the
gone, but
client didn't have enough money, they
Yes.
didn't want to pay for a person.
they didn't have anybody at the front desk, no matter how much money you had at Payne. It was crazy, but nevertheless, it was a good experience. But it was just always surprising that you would entrust that much, people calling with just a robotic system, which wasn't anywhere near. But in our world, I mean, what we wanted to do when we started was help everybody, right? If you're willing to be helped, if you'll listen to us,
Yeah.
I've done this now for 30 years. We've made many, many millionaires, and that's awesome. When somebody says to me, Glenn, thank you guys so much for what you've done for us.
Yeah, I started off with 200,000. Now I'm a millionaire because I listened to you and I didn't panic.
Exactly.
Here's what I love about independent solutions. You can actually get the fund manager on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Try that with some of these big outfits.
Wow, that's impressive.
And it's customized. I know for some of my clients, they were getting nervous. I think it was 23 or 20. Somewhere something had happened. So we bought treasury bills because that was the client's, a lot of these outfits, it's either their way or the highway. It's not customized. We actually, with independent solutions, can actually get the fund manager on the phone. And you can get a lumberjack like David Mariacher. I swear, he's like Paul Bunyan, and he lives out in the wild, but he's a great stock picker, right? And then you have John Thur, who's older than us and is in better shape than us.
Yep, exactly.
He's been,
Yeah,
every time I see him, I said, John, he looks at me, you've been doing this for 50 years, right? Well, wait a minute. And then he looks at me weird, right?
Yeah, he's close to 50 years. He started in 1980.
He had the
Wow.
largest
45
fixed
years,
income. He had the largest fixed income business at one time, right?
Yep.
When he speaks, we listen. And but he's not a nerd. He's a cool, down-to-earth kind of guy. So imagine that you have all this money and you actually get the person managing your account, not the committee or the secretary, on the phone to customize a portfolio for you. There's not much of a price tag that you can put on that that's why I use independent solutions. And you've done very well this year because, again, we're going over the numbers and, you're keeping pace with the S&P, but with a lot less volatility. And that's the difference.
Yeah, well, some portfolios, depending on the portfolio, some portfolios are crushing the S&P. It just depends. So the all cap model, which is the one I manage with Dave Mariacher, I mean, we're up 7.5, almost 7.3% net of fees year to date, and
the S&P is lagging behind at 2.5.
Right.
Mhm.
Our 1 year number is 31%. So what we'll do, we'll take advantage of the volatility and we'll try to upgrade our portfolio. And we did. I can tell you about some of those stocks on the other side of the break that really worked out really well for us.
We're going to take our first break and come back with Glenn Wiggle and Nina Pucillo on the Denny Artache Show. Thank you.
He rocked the stage. Now he's rocking your weekend. It's Denny Artache. Fridays at 5. Your weekend starts now. And we'll be right back.
At Artache Financial Group, we really go out of our way to make our clients feel different. Different because we're fiduciaries that work for you, not any insurance company or fee-based company that's out there. So if it's investing basics, income planning, long-term care, disability, Medicare, Social Security, how to take care of your family, succession planning for businesses, insurance products, we have it all, and we explain it to you simply. And we are fiduciaries. We do work for you, not any other company. So give us a call at the office at 561-537-5897. That's 561-537-5897. Advisory services offered through Blackridge Asset Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Blackridge Asset Management, LLC, and Artache Financial Group are separate and independent entities from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC.
spotlighting Martin County's events, energy, and entertainment. It's Fridays at 5 on 1450 WSTU. Call us at 220-9788. That's 220-WSTU. And now, your host, Denny Artache.
We are back. You know, I almost forgot. I think Mom is listening. Mom, if you're listening, I love you. Thanks for getting together with Pop many years ago. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. So thank you, and I hope you're enjoying the show. So, Glenn, you got to be kidding me, man. This all cap, I'm looking at the numbers. You're up 31% in a year. What did you buy?
So the all cap model is our most aggressive portfolio.
Okay.
We have our firm is broken down into a couple different components when it comes to the money management side. So we have our financial planning arm, which is the financial guys, and we have our wealth management side, which is Independent Solutions, our investment advisory firm. We have about $1.3 billion on that platform.
Wow.
And so we have mutual funds and ETF allocation portfolios that are meant for more of the, I'll call them the retail client, right? Let's say less than $1 million, that could really utilize take advantage of the diversification that mutual funds and ETFs offer. So that's one component. The next component is our stock portfolios.
Yes.
That's where
that's the SMA.
those are the SMAs.
Hey, Ray, would you like to invest in something that's averaged 14% since 2012?
Wow.
Yeah, we've got a great number.
Are you kidding me? I mean, of course, folks, you don't buy stuff strictly on performance, but
No.
let's get the not so obvious out of the way. And you have the Dow Dividend SMA.
Mm-hmm.
That's done very well too. I mean, that's about
value.
almost 5% when the
Right.
Dow itself is this year flat.
Yeah, so Dow Dividend SMA is more of a contrarian approach to what we call it. So it's a version of the dogs of the Dow. We're looking for the 15 highest dividend yielding stocks of the Dow Jones, and we rebalance it on a regular basis. And so it's really buying stocks that are down or out of favor. And so it helps. It's a nice balance to the all cap model. We use those two a lot in tangent or tangent with each other.
Before, I always forget because I'm more into entertaining instead of marketing. But if you want to know more, call the office line 561-537-5897. That's 561-537-5897. We can introduce you to Independent Solutions. Again, I use them for my clients. We're planning to continue doing business because it's not just about performance. It's about service. It's about getting the actual fund manager. Like Glenn, we'll get him on the phone. Mm-hmm. He's managing your SMA. Same thing with David Mariocker. Now, John, because he's like the biggest brainiac of the group and he does a lot of private wealth, does he have a specific conservative portfolio? Because there's people out there, no matter what you tell them, they do want a conservative portfolio. And I'm seeing that you have that here in
we have strategic. A number. Yeah, we have a number of conservative portfolios, some that are allocation portfolios, but all fixed income. We have a treasury portfolio. Mm-hmm. And then John's portfolio itself is actually a stock portfolio, but a very conservative approach. The third component that I didn't mention earlier is our private wealth group. And so those are for high net worth individuals, the $1 million minimum. So we do have minimums there. In those cases, we're trying to buy individual securities, individual stocks, individual bonds. We can custom and tailor the risk level to whatever they want. Wow. Right. So we've got clients that are $20, $25 million that say, you know what, guys, I have as much wealth as I need. For me, it's about generating some income, but preserving what I have. And we'll dial that risk right down with, fixed securities that are going to minimize that volatility for them, yet still provide the same level of income that they need. So we run the gamut. It's really all about the customer. We can customize the portfolio, however it's going to fit what they're looking to accomplish, as well as what the risk and their time horizon is.
So this is a classic example that bigger is not necessarily better. Of course, there are firms out there that have more under management, but once again, they're not customized. You're entering into a cookie cutter approach, and you're certainly not going to get the right people on the phone. Now, it's interesting. What is this tactical? I see you have PT 100 all the way down to PT 25 because the PT 100 that's done. I mean, that's up almost 14% in a year. What is that portfolio about?
Yeah, Jason and Alexis Brown are strategic partners of ours out of Houston, Texas. So we develop
Are they going to be arrested for insider trading? What's going on there?
No, they're actually. So we don't do tactical, right? And we wanted to add that dynamic kind of investing to our
now explain
our sleeve of portfolios. Yeah, so strategic is what we typically do. We're allocating portfolios. We're trying to make sure we have the right large cap, small cap, mid cap bonds, the right mix of different asset classes. And then we're going to stay the course with minor adjustments. We'll rebalance on a regular basis and maybe tweak the portfolio if necessary. Tactical is getting in and out. They're making more wholesale changes. And not that he's going to cash and all 100 in, 100 out. He's still making incremental changes, but he's doing it in a more tactical way. So he might raise 20 or 30 or 40%.
Trends are going.
Yes, he's going to follow the trends. He's going to raise cash. He's going to be defensive when he needs to be. He's going to be a lot more active within that portfolio in an effort to capture the upside, but also get out of the way if the markets start going against him. So, and those him and his daughter have been fantastic. Jason and Alexis are a fantastic team.
So now we're going to a topic that everyone talks about, ETFs. Oh my God. I remember when they first came out, they were like the newest peanut butter and jelly, right? So your growth ETF is up over 8% in a year. Talk to me and the listeners what the deal is, because you have a growth in income, you have an income appreciation, then a flat income ETF. The growth ETF, is it laced with small and mid cap stocks as well? What is that?
It's not stocks; it's all ETFs. So
I mean, excuse me,
we started the firm back in 2008 with allocation mutual funds, right?
Yeah, and
then. Because we do believe that if the right managers, the old adage that only 20% of managers beat their index, well, you're paying us to find those 20% that are, right? So that's part of what we do is do the research to find those good managers. But you always run across those engineers. And I understand the perspective to say, you know what? I don't need to be top 20%. I just want to be better than the other 80. I'm good with just the indexes, right? And that's where the ETF portfolios come in. They're just very simple, low-cost indexes that still make up a strategic allocation, kind of a pie chart.
But you're shopping and it's interesting because Warren Buffett, who recently just retired, he was touting for years that instead of beating the index, just invest in the index.
Right.
This way, if it's up, you're up. Exactly. No ambiguity based on that.
Exactly.
So that's the whole strategy
keeps the cost
behind
down.
that.
Exactly.
Now, your core mutual funds, that includes the famous Neiman Fund?
Those are just for small investors. So core mutual fund is really for accounts that are, let's say $25,000 or $15,000 or less.
Which good luck getting managed money for those balance. I'm just telling people that it's hard, it's tough.
We just can't get a full allocation, right? So if you're buying one of our allocation portfolios, typically they're 25, 50,000 minimums, because otherwise we can't get all the securities in with less. That's what the core portfolio is for, is just to accommodate, because sometimes we'll deal with a multi-million-dollar client, but they've got an old UTMA, or they've got a Roth IRA, or they got something that is like 10 grand that they just couldn't put any more into, maybe a Roth, for example. And so that just kind of accommodates that so that we can still keep it all on the same platform for them. We clear it through Fidelity and Schwab. And so, we don't want to have it on all their stuff on Fidelity, and then they got this one account hanging out there over at, XYZ firm that they got to deal with. So it's just a way for us to help to accommodate, all their accounts in one place.
So is the committee bullish on the market by year end?
Yeah, we've been bullish this whole time. Not to say that we didn't expect volatility,
right?
But again, AI and robotics will be more transformative. I really believe that. And people ask me, well, what sector? All of them. All of them. Right. I don't care if it's healthcare.
That's right.
Research.
I know. AI's taking. Listen. Incredible. I just don't want the Terminator to be real life, where they take over the machines and the nuclear codes.
We won't have anything to worry about that. But
you think we'll be dead and gone before it happens?
Think about where we were in 1992. Let's say 1994, right before the internet really became for public use. I was using the internet and email in the early 90s because I was at Michigan State, and that was one of the research universities that was kind of rolling this stuff out, right? Where it was testing some of the infrastructure, right? It was very bizarre because it was nothing ever like it. I'm like, I gotta go on this email system and find my assignment. Are you serious? But it was a great preparation for what was to come. And what was to come was, so think about, how did you transfer data prior to 1995?
Yeah, I don't know how we
You had to call a carrier. You had to call FedEx.
Right.
Yeah,
you called FedEx.
Right. If you had to get a document across town, you would call a guy on a bike that would, write it down the street.
You'd fax it. You remember fax?
You had faxes for a while.
I had a fax machine in my house.
Very limited.
How about the answering machines?
Yes.
Right? Yes.
But now you can send entire encyclopedia volumes right?
Yes.
In seconds at the click of a button. So the ability to move information and documents and, for businesses to connect with each other, the whole supply chain, the ordering, everything, sales, retail, Amazon. I mean, there's so much this was spawned out of the internet. It's exciting to talk about. AI will be more than that, in my opinion.
I agree wholeheartedly.
I mean, I hate to say it, but their advisors, remember Ramos was talking about how he was using an AI platform for some of the stuff he's doing. So AI is actually doing stock picking, watching trends a lot faster than any human can
and
do.
you can train it. You train the AI.
Train to see what it looks for.
I train AI all the time to
Tom, maybe you should do AI to get your future ex-wife. What do you think?
I think that'll be my next gig. Actually, ordering pizza from one of the places here in town. Okay.
What, they use AI?
They use AI, and the funny part is
you don't get a live person. You call it's AI.
Yeah, and you can talk to they're interactive. Okay,
yeah,
and
incredible.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know that it's AI. And when I went to pick up the pizza, the girl that the server that came over to me,
cooked by AI.
No, well, no,
it will be at some point. The robots will cook it.
Yeah, I just don't want them to do my job now. But my point is, the girl sounded just like the girl that was on the phone. So she says, no, that's AI.
Yeah, no, because it will copy you.
It
copies
insane.
Me.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
It is totally insane.
Yeah.
They have AI for everything. I even saw they have AI for writing music and songs. You tell it what kind it is, it does it.
Yes.
And it's just like, and then you own the copyrights, right? Like, here's what. This is all AI. No live musicians, no nothing, right? Doesn't that sound like?
It sounds better than most of the country musicians I know.
Listen to this,
or at least equal to.
So listen, I programmed this, and I own the rights, and I have it's spewed out lyrics, music, everything.
Yep.
You should sell
and that I could probably sell this on what's that Spotify or something?
Right.
Yes.
Sure.
Listen to this. Doesn't it sound like?
The tire sways, though it's empty now.
That's hilarious.
That's AI, folks.
I saw a video of myself.
Scary.
You did, right?
I did not make. AI made it for me.
Right.
I'm looking at myself on the screen. It was totally freaky.
Right.
Because I mean,
it's you.
It's me, and I film myself all the time.
Yep.
But I didn't film that.
Right.
You remember that?
We're moving into a brave new world.
We're all old enough. Remember that old movie Westworld?
No, I do remember.
I don't.
Yeah.
This is where they had robots to replace humans.
Yeah.
And you better believe with this whole AI stuff, I think even guys like Musk is, hey, don't get married. We'll have your perfect spouse right here. She'll talk and cook and do everything. Well, Westworld, it came out. Yul Brynner was in the movie. And this was, think about it. When we watched Star Trek and they had they had cell phones, right? They're talking and like, oh, what are they on? Those were cell phones.
Yeah.
And they would talk to the computer, which we're doing with Siri now and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm concerned that, hey, maybe that Terminator crap will happen in real too, and they're going to take over.
Beat me up, Scott.
Yeah. Pretty much. Right.
AI is now doing a lot of the programming. So they're saying within 1 to 3 years, AI will actually do all of the programming. There won't be programmers anymore.
Well, that's what I'm
pretty
saying.
Amazing.
I mean,
I just showed you I could do a song.
Yeah.
It could speech write for you.
Yep.
And speaking of which, a lot of times I do a lot of videos. But if I don't have enough time and I want to put a quick message, I've cloned myself where it took my voice, my image, and now I just put in a script and it's me speaking. I'm like, who is that guy?
That's it.
So what?
Don't tell my boss that. Okay.
It's kind of like, remember when we said there's an app for everything?
Yeah.
There's AI for everything almost.
Right.
Look what you said. You ordered a pizza,
right?
And it was AI talking.
Right.
At some point in the not too distant future, like a Siri on your phone, you will have your own digital assistant, right? So somebody that will actually, or something, should say somebody that will reach out to your doctors for you to make those appointments, that will play phone tag on your behalf.
I can't wait to get that assistant.
All
right
of those
now.
little
I'm ready now.
Oh yeah,
I'm ready now.
There are things
Glenn,
that will
you
happen
already
that we
have
can't
like
even
10
imagine at this
assistants.
point.
You already have like 10 assistants,
but they're human.
But
and they take time off and they get sick.
So you
not going to replace them. Don't get me wrong. Sue, if you're listening, you're fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, Sue, you're not going anywhere.
Sue's been with me for 24 years.
You just scared them, you know. But even you need a resume or something, you just put the bullet points and
Yeah.
it can do it for
just
you.
spits it out.
And now I wonder if you can have an AI do the interview for you
Dude,
too.
why can't we have
Probably.
an AI politician, man? I think I'd like that. What do you think?
Well, who's going to program it? You?
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody better than them.
Right?
Yeah.
There was
So,
someone
you
making
know.
jokes that they killed Joe Biden 5 years ago, and that was just an AI clone that we were seeing.
Could have been.
And I said, nah, nobody would clone someone to fall down that many times and forget. How
Well,
many
you
things
never
that they
know.
were
I
doing.
don't know.
Well,
That's hilarious.
it's hilarious, but scary, Glenn. Think about it. I mean, think about it. All of us in this room, we're joking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine in just 5 years from now, the advancements. They've just about figured out how your car can drive itself.
Think about how
they
fast the
figured it
internet
out.
took off.
Well, that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
yeah,
Hey,
no, it's
let
ready
me
to
go
go.
get bombed, and let me just give my keys to my car to drive me home.
Yeah.
It's the bureaucrats that hold it up. It's the regulators that are the problem. And not to say we shouldn't have regulators, but you've got people regulating things that have no idea or understanding about them, which is
What
the
they're
problem.
regulating AI.
Well,
AI, but the driving cars. So
Oh,
the
I see.
robo taxis are ready to go. In Europe, you can't even here the Teslas. You can take your hand off a wheel. Now, after a while, you got to put your hands on it. But
Okay.
Teslas here in the States can drive themselves. In Europe,
Really?
all the functionality on Teslas for the most part are disabled because the bureaucrats in Europe don't trust their citizens or even the AI. I mean, it's honestly AI is safer. I mean, the track
But
record of
is
the
it?
self-driving cars are
Listen,
safer. Yes.
Here's why I say it's not, because there was, I think, like a week or two ago, one of the few times I dialed into a newscast, they were showing how this AI refused to delete itself when it was given a command to.
Well, I'm talking the driving cars are safer, not the whole AI itself.
But
I mean, there's
I'm
definitely
saying,
some risk.
what if your AI gets angry and you know what? Hey, do the speed limit. You remember that movie 2001: Space Odyssey?
well, yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
HAL
He tells
computer.
the HAL computer,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm sorry, David."
Open the bay
Right.
doors.
He said it in that creepy voice. "I'm sorry, David. I can't do that." What do you mean you can't do that?
Yeah, it just took
So,
over the house.
It's driving. Hey, take me home. I'm sorry, Glenn. I can't take you
Yeah,
home
I don't
right
think
now.
we'll get there. I think they'll get. I am optimistic that they'll get the right
Yeah,
safeguards. in
sure,
place,
buddy.
I hope.
Okay.
If
yeah.
not, we're all screwed. It won't matter.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what
it
I'm
will
trying
be
to tell
Terminator
you.
at that point. if it
We're
goes
gonna
that way.
listen. We're gonna be in
Terminator.
diapers.
I understand the optimistic side. I'm going to look forward to having my own robot butler that could make me, a margarita or whatever on a Friday.
Dude, I'm looking for that AI assistant. You got me on that. Does it
It's
exist
coming.
already?
Well, kind of, but not yet. Not for public use.
But the
right?
other
So-
scary part is the stem cell research. They,
What?
and who knows that they're not cloning people somewhere in the world because they've
I've
cloned
seen a lot of
animals,
movies on that. Exactly.
but they've cloned animals, and we know that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
beats me.
between that and AI, we're done.
You know,
We're
it's
done.
so scary. It's so Nina. We don't know what we're seeing, whether we can believe it or not. And I
See?
tell you that
Yeah.
when 2001: Space Odyssey came up, that freaked out a lot of people because
Yeah.
that was the
Did.
first time they had that technology that seemed so real. And here we are years later, and we're living it.
Yes. Now it is real.
No, but is it? There's so many videos out there that they come out to, hey, that was fake news, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
that
they-
wasn't real.
But
But
damn
it looked real.
But they
And no,
there are people today that are saying that we still didn't go to the moon. Okay, there's a group of people.
well,
it's a
I
cult
would
that are
like to
saying
know the
that.
truth.
Well,
I mean,
I got to be
Because-
honest. I have
You know?
always been a
skeptical, right?
No. I've always been a
Right.
true believer. Like, oh yeah, we went to them for sure.
Uh-huh.
But lately, just in the last couple months, I've started to watch some of these videos. I'm like,
Yes.
some of the logical stuff that they say, I'm like,
There you go.
how did they take that video?
Exactly.
Like, who held the camera for that first step off?
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
wait a minute now.
See,
I mean,
this is exactly what I'm talking about. I
and
look
that
at
could have
stuff
been
and
Cold War
I go,
propaganda for sure.
smells like, you know what?
That could have been
I don't
Cold War
believe
propaganda.
you.
I don't
Well,
know.
look, with the chroma key in your studio and everything, you could be in
Right.
the moon,
Exactly.
or Mars.
Yeah.
Oh man, you
know,
busted
for sure.
me, man. You told them about my studio.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is
That
it's
could be
so
AI too.
true. We
Mhm.
can see a video.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's alive, if it's really a person or an AI
So,
generated
no
one.
idea.
So now, just a year ago, AI that was drawing pictures couldn't get your hands right. Remember the AI photos just a year ago had 6 fingers.
Right.
Oh, did it really?
They could just a year
Oh,
ago.
okay.
They couldn't. No. This is a year ago. They couldn't get the hands right.
Okay.
Now they're talking and they're perfect replicas. That's
Right.
how fast AI is moving.
Technology,
Right. That's how quickly AI is progressing and becoming better at because again, a year ago, it
Because
couldn't
it
do videos.
learns.
It could barely do pictures.
That's what I'm afraid of.
It learns.
Hey,
It
AI, go to
learns.
sleep.
It's-
We don't
yeah,
need you anymore.
It's, exactly. It's
No,
reprogramming
I
itself
can
to
I'm
make it
sorry,
better.
Ray.
I can ask
just
AI
can't
to
do
write
that.
something in my voice,
Yes, that's cool. We use AI
It
Mike.
clones. Yeah,
to do
and
commercials.
and it will.
you do use AI.
We use AI Mike because it's better than Mike. No offense to Mike, but when
Mike,
Mike and
are you
I
listening?
when Mike and I
You're
record,
fired.
when Mike and I record commercials, like everybody, we're good. We've done this for 27 years, so
Mhm.
we'll typically get it on the first try. Not always. Sometimes there's a couple tries or some
Sure.
editing has to be done, but AI is on point 99%
All right,
of the
so-
time. It's
so
not
what do you-
always perfect.
You
Sometimes
record your
inflection,
voice.
whatnot.
You record your voice, and then say, "Hey, put
clones
the
it.
script out." Right?
I guess that's
Yes,
I didn't
I'm
do it.
telling
I don't
you,
know.
I-
I just we have a marketing team. that
That's
does
how
this
it is.
stuff,
I'm
so.
telling you,
That's pretty
I've
cool.
used the AI for a few short videos to experiment because I wanted to see. And you have to like record for a minute clearly, naturally. Then when it locks it, it does it. So then what happens? You can do the same thing with video. You video yourself for like a minute, it gives it enough time to get all your nuances in there. Then bam, you give it a script. There you are. You're like, damn, I sound and look pretty good. Look at that.
That's amazing.
Denny,
It's crazy.
Denny, do me a favor.
What?
Because I'm the production director, don't tell my boss that.
Tommy, we love you, buddy, but it bees like that, Poppy.
You
We have to
know.
look out after our
You-
investment. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know what I'm saying, man.
Well, think about it. It's learning
much,
to do
isn't it?
so much.
Yeah.
I can tell when someone calls me and there's an AI. Hi, is this Denny? Yeah. And then someone else comes on the call, the person who can't speak clearly from India or wherever it is
Right.
that they hire them. And so it is taking over. So look, independent solutions, you're bullish about this year, next
We are.
year.
Well,
You-
I mean, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I
No,
think
no one does.
We're going to continue to have volatility. Obviously, we just kicked off a war in the Middle East yesterday. Not us, but Israel did.
Yeah.
And so,
What about Iran? I think I saw that they sent like 100 drones to Israel.
well, we'll see. I don't think they're going to acquiesce. I think, the idea was to put max pressure on them. And obviously they did refuse to negotiate. So now you've got, strikes back and forth. And that's just going to cause a lot of, again, volatility and uncertainty in the markets. And the markets hate uncertainty. All buying opportunities. So, any of these dips, in our opinion, are buying opportunities. Because again, with AI, just like with technology, the internet, it was transformative. Right now, it doesn't mean that we didn't hit Y2K and have a 2 or 3 year pretty wicked bear market. Again, a lot of that was bad policy decisions on the part of Alan Greenspan, my least favorite, Fed chief.
But wait a minute. Back in 2000, there was the dot-com bust where
Yes.
people were buying companies with.
Yep.
So what do they do? Who cares? It's going up. Just buy it.
Just buy it.
Just buy it.
But part of the problem was that Alan Greenspan intentionally kept interest rates lower longer than he
Yes.
normally would to give companies an opportunity to borrow more money, to increase their technology, because everybody fell for what was the most ridiculous scam prior to the global warming scam, right? Which was all of the computers are going to reset on January 1 and no one's going to be able to take money out of the. It was the dumbest thing. So, but everybody went out and spent not everybody, but all corporations went out and spent all kinds of money upgrading their routers and servers and computers. And so, Dell went through the roof, and Oracle and Cisco and all these companies.
Yeah.
And then 2000 came and nothing happened.
Right.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
and all
We're
these
waiting
companies
for the crash.
we just ordered like 5 years worth of stuff. We're good for a while. And then all the sales of Cisco and these companies just plummeted because they already bought all the stuff that they needed,
And broadcasters, the same thing.
What?
Right.
They load up on
They
Right.
upgraded all the
broadcasters?
stuff.
Change
yeah.
the music system and everything.
Right.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Right.
you got to get ready
Everything
for
was gonna
that.
crash.
The automation system.
Yep.
Because I've been through it. It's just
Calendar
Well,
based.
40
It's
years.
A
all
lot
gonna
of people
crash.
don't realize they
So
thought it was normal, but it's so true, Glenn. We held interest rates so artificially low for the longest time. It wasn't normal. Talk to people who had to buy houses in the 80s where you had to pay an 18% mortgage, or when inflation was. People are, of course, prices are too high, but you want to talk about real inflation and recessionary things that have happened in the past.
Mhm.
So we were so fearful. We didn't want a recession. We wanted to keep rates low, and now who knows where they're going. They have lowered, right? I think prime rate is lowered, so you can get a mortgage now
Yeah.
in the 7s, I believe,
Yeah.
where it was like 8, 9. And I'm like, you're kidding. So
yeah. Well, after 2008, you had Obama for 8 years. And so you got two sides of the economic policy. You've got the fiscal side, which is tax policy on the White House, regulatory policy, whatnot. Then you've got the monetary side, which is what comes out of the Fed, the increasing and lowering of interest rates, right? And so the fiscal policy was awful. For 8 years, Obama increased the regulatory burden by hundreds of billions of dollars. There was no tax relief whatsoever when we really needed it. And so there's just didn't have any good fiscal policy. So the monetary side, the Fed had to kind of work double duty. Think about your two legs. If one of your legs just isn't working, you got to hop a log on the other leg, right? It's just
Right.
That leg has to work that much harder, which is what the Fed had to do. The Fed kept rates, in my opinion, though, way too low, way too long. Right? They didn't need to keep them that low.
And we got used to it, and which is
Yeah.
not normal.
People got really used to it.
But what's interestingly enough, early in our conversation, the new norm is snapping back with volatility, and it happens so quickly. Prior to 5 years ago, typically when we had a correction, it would take next year. It didn't snap back in a month or two. But it's like you said, it's a knee jerk. It was based on policy and perception, because the market always trades in the future, folks, not what's happening exactly today.
Well, I will tell you what the time bomb is that will cause a massive correction that will take a long time to recover from, and that is healthcare. In 2008, 2009, when they passed Obamacare, and they said, when I say they, I mean people like me on the right said, this is going to be the worst thing we ever passed in this country. It's going to destroy healthcare as we know it. It's going to put a bureaucrat between you and your doctor. It's going to cause the government to make the healthcare decisions that your doctor's no longer going to have the control of those decisions.
Right.
And we saw that exactly with COVID. Unfortunately, Republicans are completely spineless. Right, these congressional Republicans, honestly, they've had so many opportunities to repeal Obamacare.
This is the most political that we're going to get on our show.
But now they want to build on it, right? Even Trump is not a true conservative, and so President Trump wants to build upon Obamacare. Obamacare needs to go completely into the trash heap. 100%.
It was popular for because people wanted guaranteed coverage. But you're right. I'm concerned more about Medicare and healthcare than I am Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
I know they say Social Security is going to blow up, but I don't believe that. I have faith in our government that they'll figure it out, because if you thought they were mad about January 6th, if they let Social Security go, they'll march on Washington with not just pitchforks and knives.
Yeah, I agree.
I think what they'll probably do is change the goalpost where, hey, instead of early at 62, now it's 63 or 64. Instead of till 70, now it's 71, 72. Mm-hmm. Because they've done changes. At first, Social Security wasn't taxed. Then it was taxed. Now Trump's talking about not taxing it. At first, you could file and suspend. Hey, let me take half of my spouse's while I'm letting mine grow. And then these bureaucrats said, hey, people are getting rich off Social Security, which is the dumbest statement ever. Or they say, oh, it's an entitlement. No, it's not an entitlement. They paid for it.
Yeah, Social Security and Medicare, though, I'm not concerned about. I'm concerned about mainly the actual health care, because
Medicare's part of that.
Well, it is, but what we've done in general is that we have taken the consumer out of the equation, right?
Yes.
You have no idea what your MRI costs,
right?
And they won't even tell you. If you have insurance, if you walk in without insurance, you can shop things around. They'll give you the prices. If you walk in with insurance, yes. No joke.
You have to say. Because I've done it.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
They won't tell you.
I'm a veteran, so I'm glad I have the VA. They treat me well.
If they know you have insurance, though, they will not tell you what the costs are. You can't shop.
It went too fast. Well, listen, I hope you got some good tidbits on the show. Call the office line if you'd like to know more. Thank you, Nina Pucillo. Thank you, Glenn.
We just had a break here, though. Yeah, another 10 minutes.
Oh, do we have another 10 minutes?
Yeah, you're good. You're on a second break.
I can't read Ray Thomas. We're still learning each other. We're going to take a break, folks. We're not ending the show. We're going to come back with some more financial stuff.
He rocked the stage. Now he's rocking your weekend. It's Denny Artache. Fridays at 5. Your weekend starts now. And we'll be right back.
At Artache Financial Group, we really go out of our way to make our clients feel different. Different because we're fiduciaries that work for you, not any insurance company or fee-based company that's out there. So if it's investing basics, income planning, long-term care, disability, Medicare, Social Security, how to take care of your family, succession planning for businesses, insurance products, we have it all, and we explain it to you simply. And we are fiduciaries. We do work for you, not any other company. So give us a call at the office at 561-537-5897. That's 561-537-5897. Advisory services are offered through Blackridge Asset Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Blackridge Asset Management, LLC, and Artache Financial Group are separate and independent entities from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC.
Get your weekend started right. It's Fridays at 5. Local fun, fresh laughs, and feel-good vibes right here on 1450 WSTU. Here's your host, Denny Artache.
Wow. So during the break, Nina, you got to share that story that you just told me and Glenn. So you're in this, you're told because you have insurance, you have to wait 6 weeks to get what, an MRI or an X-ray?
An X-ray.
An X-ray. So what did you do?
I walked in to the place that told me that.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm a cash pay. How much is an X-ray? And she gave me some ridiculously low price, like, I don't know, $37.50, $38 or something.
$38.
And yeah.
And we can get you in this afternoon, right?
Yeah. And
yeah.
When can I do that? She said, well, you'd have to wait for half an hour because we have a couple people before you.
But so if you showed the insurance, you had to wait 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because there's all the paperwork.
So the Obamacare is just created just layer upon layer upon layer. Think about during COVID, right? The bureaucrats were threatening pharmacists in places like New York with, don't you dare prescribe this, ivermectin that's not on the approved list, or we'll yank your license. Same thing with doctors. Doctors were petrified about using their own heads and advice because they were flat out told this is the protocol. And sadly, I had several clients that I'll say they were killed. They were killed by the healthcare industry because they had to follow. The family protocol, is begging them to do something different. No, we got to follow the COVID protocol, knowing that it's the patient's going to die if we don't do the procedure we need to do. But we can't do the procedure because the state protocol says during COVID, we have to treat the COVID before we have any surgeries. It was the most. And so when, back in 2009, when you remember the conversations, it was all about a bureaucrat's going to be between you and your doctor. And that's exactly
but that's not
where
how
we
they
are
sold
today.
it. They said you're able to keep your doctors, and keep the coverage.
All a lie. What do you need your doctor for if the doctor's going to listen to the state bureaucrat anyways? Like I go to my doctor for advice. You come to a financial advisor for advice. I go to a health expert for advice.
Right.
If I go to a health expert or a doctor and they have to go by what the book says and only what the book says, then so you've got this whole system now that has been warped because of Obamacare, just like the housing industry and the mortgage industry was warped because of government intervention.
Right.
And that I don't know how it's going to blow up in the future. I just know that it will, because anything that the government has gotten their tentacles into at that level, they have messed up big time, and we've all suffered the consequences for it. So
yeah, I've officially become a libertarian. I want less government in my life.
Well, think about
they're not good at managing money. They're not good at managing too many things. And I love my country. I'm a veteran, but let's call a spade a spade. I mean, they're terrible at managing a lot of things.
Well, they don't.
That's the problem.
Again, when you have bureaucrats, and
bureaucrats.
I'm telling you, these politicians.
We could describe them differently, but not on on radio here, family show.
So if you remember some of the conversations surrounding the housing industry, I mean, the Republicans on the right during the 05, 04, 06 were trying to put in place some mortgage reforms, because what we did when we supercharged the Community Reinvestment Act is we allowed for the securitization of mortgages, right, as part of many things that the particular act did. But what that did is it separated that relationship between the bank and the customer. And so now it created a whole level of new industry, really, which was mortgage brokers. And now mortgage brokers are just going to sell that mortgage to another company. They could care less whether that person defaults. It's not the bank anymore that's really analyzing the risk. It's a mortgage. So all of that was created because of government policy and change, right? and so it really warped the whole mortgage. We were doing what do they call those? No loan, no income.
Yeah, no interest, right.
I
Yeah.
mean, no interest
They were
loans.
thinking people were flipping.
It was
Now,
crazy.
now, here's the one thing. I'm a native of New York originally. You have your 30,000 square foot business building. You have a house there.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, New York is one of the worst between
For
them
sure.
and California.
Yes.
They are our national debt. Just those two states.
Well,
I mean, they have the biggest budgets. They can't balance it.
Yeah.
They're in
Right.
deficits.
yep.
They're insane.
Constantly.
But if you're poor, you get everything, right? You get like.
Yeah, the only hope in New York is that Kathy Hochul has done such an awful job that, and I'm serious, that we might actually get a Republican governor the next time. She has been that bad. She took over for Cuomo. So what I said about Cuomo was, Governor Cuomo is I think is an evil person, right? He's not a very good person, but he's not stupid, right? He's willing to drive the car to the edge of the cliff, but smart enough not to drive it over. But Kathy Hochul is dumb. Governor Hochul, make no mistake. No, I'm serious. Governor Hochul is not a smart person. And stupid is dangerous. And you're seeing that with New York State now. All kinds of people have been murdered in New York. I mean, the people that they're picking up in New York are worse than the ones in California. I mean, in some cases. I mean, you're talking about hardcore gang members, rapists, child molesters. And this is just last week in Western New York.
Listen,
it's crazy.
It's so hard for law enforcement. I mean,
well, New York especially.
when you
because their
see
hands
a
are
lot of stuff,
awful.
first of all, you have to respect law enforcement. You have a right to protest and believe anything you want, but I will never hit a cop or law enforcement. You know why? Because I know I'll go to jail and I'll do anything to avoid being locked up with a bunch of dudes wearing orange suits.
I love the one sheriff in Florida goes, you're going to go to the hospital and then to jail.
Yeah. Yes, I saw that. He says if you threaten us, you're going to go to the hospital and jail.
And then to jail.
If you blow up a car, threaten to kill us, we'll tell your family where to find your remains.
That's right. That was awesome.
So I
love
said,
that.
and then
Florida's a great place. Well, Florida's a wonderful place.
I love Florida.
It really is.
Exactly. Now that's
Yeah.
just common sense. Because honestly, no old joke. I would never hit someone in law enforcement. I don't care what I was protesting or. Because I know they have a right to arrest me.
Right.
How many people?
That's against the law.
And lock you in a cage.
And lock you in a cage with a bunch of dudes, right? Which I'm trying. I have nightmares over that.
Well, how many people have you seen videos of that have been stopped in a protest in their car and dragged out of their car and beaten to death? I've seen several.
Yeah.
Too many, right? And
Yeah.
so as DeSantis kind of rekindles this, hey, as we have these protests nationwide, just remember. In the state of Florida, if you fear for your life, you can flee, and if you run somebody over in the process, you're not going to be prosecuted for it.
I remember he said that. Yeah.
He just reiterated that again. He just doubled down on it, I believe. So,
But again, once again,
big difference.
everyone has a right to protest. Do it peacefully.
Well, you don't have a right to impact somebody else's life.
Correct.
By
That
blocking
is
them from
correct.
getting to work, or
That's right.
But in other states, there's no. They cater to the criminals. And so in New York, they've done that. And now even Mayor Adams in New York City has flipped to the other side of like, yeah, we got to get them out because it's just overwhelming. Like it's just too many, there's too much cost, right?
Yeah,
They can't handle it. But that's Governor.
You have to respect
Kathy
the law.
Hochul.
You have to respect other people. And I feel sorry for law enforcement because I know if I was wearing a badge and people were attacking me, yeah, I wouldn't be too jovial about that outcome.
No.
And it's hard. It's very hard. Their hands are tied behind their back a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it is Friday. Let's focus on having a great weekend. Are you doing anything special this weekend?
How do people get a hold of you real quick? No, I'm not. But just before we end the show, how do people get a hold of you?
561-537-5897. I'll say it again, 561-537-5897. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nina Pucillo, Glenn
Thank
Wiggle,
you.
Ray Thomas, Denny Artache. We are shoving off for now, and happy rest of your weekend, folks. Thanks.
That's a wrap on another ride through the heart of the Treasure Coast. You've been tuned into Fridays at 5, from finance to local talk and everything in between. We hope you're heading into the weekend just a little bit wiser and a whole lot more entertained. Big thanks to you for making this the best hour of the week. We'll see you next Friday right here on Martin County's Heritage Station, 1450 WSTU. Stay safe, stay smart, and stay tuned. WSTU, Stewart.